Hello and welcome to today's video. This time we're looking at Atomic Werewolves and Man-Eating Plants. It's the latest entry in the Men's Adventure Library from New Texture, and boy oh boy are we in for a treat today. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look. Okay then, so once again, New Texture have published this one in two formats. So you've got the paperback edition right here, and we've got the hardback edition right here. They do have different jackets, and the hardback edition is slightly more expanded. It's got an extra 20 to 30 pages or so, and it's got a few more sort of colour plates and pictures in. So that's the edition we'll be sort of concentrating on today, but that's not to take anything away from the paperback, which is still absolutely glorious in all its, well, as you can see, in all its glory. You can see, absolutely fantastic. All the stories are there complete. It's just the hardback has got just a little bit more included for you to enjoy. But there is the paperback. But we'll be flicking through the hardback here, and once again, absolutely fantastic design on these. Really, really nice. And I believe if you buy your copy direct from the publisher, I believe they chuck in a bookmark as well. All right, so that's something to look out for. Now, one thing I wanted to point out about these is if you look at the, just turn to a page here at random, if you look at the actual pages themselves, they're not brilliant white like you would see in like a normal, say, fiction book. You can see like little speckles in the paper, and that's because it is emulating like an original sort of pulpy magazine page, you know, and it's worth pointing that out because it does add to the authenticity. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So the book opens with Mike Chomko. So let's have a little look. We've got the introduction here. Yeah, so Mike Chomko, and Mike is an expert on Weird Tales, the classic pulp magazine, which you rarely see in the UK, but was, you know, so influential in America, wasn't it? And there were all the great authors of that period were writing for Weird Tales, and Mike gives us sort of a history of it. There's actually number one, which I don't think I'd ever seen a picture of that one before. March 1923, and there was a story like Anthony M. Rudd's Ooze, a story concerning a giant amoeba. So yeah, Mike gives us sort of a history of Weird Tales, which is really, really cool. And then we are treated to a bit of a gallery of the fantastic jackets. So these are 1924, October 34. These are some of the later ones. That's September 53, May 1940. September 54, this is right near the end in 1954. Just fantastic, and I would say that's probably its most famous and most iconic one. October 93, the Margaret Brundage cover. And she did loads for Weird Tales, I think about 60 in total, but that's the one. I mean, just fantastic. And she never really noticed, but she's like wearing a bat over her head as like a mask. I mean, you got to think that something like that, you know, Batman must have been slightly based on, I would imagine. So good stuff there. Then we've got like another introduction here by Stefan, and I don't really want to murder his name, Dizmanowicz, I think is perhaps the best way to describe it. And Stephen sort of shows us how Weird Tales helped influence the writers of the men's adventure magazines that were to follow, really. Weird Tales ceased its original run in 1954 and was pretty much the last man standing, publishing wise, of sort of out there, sort of outlandish fiction. Adventure, Argosy and Blue Book were all transitioning to become men's adventure magazines in effect, and alas, Weird Tales just didn't make it. But some of the writers who wrote for Weird Tales did make the jump to the men's adventure magazines, and that's exactly what you'll find within these pages. Almost all these stories have never actually been reprinted since their original publication over half a century ago, and the editors have been detectives really rooting these out from their vast collections, and they are represented here for the new audience to enjoy. So here we are. This is both editors, Wyatt and Robert here, looking at their term for the weird, and this is really a great introduction themselves, because once again they go through the parallels from the original pulps to how the men's adventure magazines were a natural progression to this sort of style of writing. And it seems really that nothing was there ever off the table. We then get into the bits where each story, they go through each story, is put into a bit of historical context, what the authors were doing at the time, if the stories were, reprinted from somewhere else. And I think it really is good. In a way, I almost sort of think this introduction to each story could come before the actual book itself, but the way the book is sort of chaptered out, it does sort of make sense to have an overall look at all the stories contained within before you sort of get into it. I was quite surprised to see this one by H.P. Lovecraft. I didn't know this had been reprinted in a men's adventure magazine, but there it is. The Rats in the Walls, which is a pretty cool one. But, they do sort of explain any of the common misconceptions that people have about the men's adventure magazines, thinking they're all sort of, hyping up Nazis and things like that. Well, that's just not the case. And I believe that anyone who's picked this book up, chances are they've probably read other books in the men's adventure library before. And, they're not going to be fooled. They know exactly what sort of a ride they're going to be in for inside this exact book here, And so this is really, really valuable reading, and I urge you to soak every little bit of this up before you sort of dive into the books themselves, because it's really important. So that's put all the actual stories into historical context, and then you get onto the books themselves. So the way it's sort of laid out rather, you get covers included, but then you get the cover to the actual magazine where the story came from. You'll then get the double page spread, which was with all the artist details, obviously the dates. This is how it was originally laid out in the original men's adventure magazine, and then it's like reset brand new for sort of modern reading, as it were, and you can go through the story that way, which is by far the best way to read this, rather than in the actual magazines themselves. And that is it then for the rest of the book. So you get a great cover interspersed with just inside in between each story, and then you get the magazine cover itself from where the actual featured story came from. So when the vampire was captured, it's good stuff here, and we shall flick through these because evidently there's a lot to get through, as you can see. It's a really, really weighty tome, this one. It really is, and it just feels fantastic in the hand. And the actual typeface on this slightly off-white page is really, really pleasing to the eye to look at and read. So, yeah, full marks for the design of this. It's just top-notch. This was great. Covered by Norm Saunders. So I don't know a lot about Norm Saunders, but I do know he was the artist who did the Mars Attacks bubblegum cards, which are real favourites of mine. I know he'd done some men's adventure magazine content, but it's nice to see one in here. But all the great cover artists are in here. See this, although it's not reprinting that story, The Jar by Ray Bradbury, at least we do get to see a little bit of the illustration detail on it, and that is a particularly good one. Look at that, you just sort of see the eye in there. It's good stuff, isn't it? Fantastic, another fantastic jacket. Really, really nice interior artwork there by John Leone. Very, very nice. I said the stories themselves aren't that long. They're about 10 pages a pop, 8 to 10 pages. So they're very, very easy to dip in and out of, and just get your bookmark. And when you're ready for a little slice of action, just slip it in, This was the Lovecraft one here, of course. The Rats in the Wall, 1959. Hal Dodd. I was going to say that looks like the Birdman of Alcatraz on the cover, and it actually is that. Yeah, another nice illustration, that one as well, isn't it? This is apparently a real classic Lovecraft story. Obviously, this one has been reprinted outside of the the men's adventure magazines, but even so, still a good one to include. Gardener Fox here now. The Man Who Couldn't Die. What a great jacket that one is. Vic Prezio. Lots going on in that, and really high quality detail. It's great, isn't it? Even just flicking through like this is really, really great. Yes. The Werewolf and the Cowboy. Now, I do mention in their introduction that the interior artwork of this is amongst the worst they've ever seen, and they're not wrong. It is pretty awful, that Bob Bourne sort of thing. I could probably rustle up, in all honesty, but you know, it's presented there, so it's in keeping with the rest of the book. Yeah, Mort Kunstler cover there. You look at the detail on it, just fantastic. Mad Doctor of No Name Key, and even that, really, really superb interior artwork there. Incredible stuff. Her Body Belonged to the Devil. George Renner. This is December 61. Yeah, it's good stuff, isn't it? Another Ray Bradbury layout there, The Long Rain, from Cavalcade, March 1959. Their bodies glowed with fire. Here's Theodore Sturgeon, obviously more well known for his science fiction, and a Gil Cohen cover. Super cool. George Gross cover there. He did so many, didn't he? Men's Adventure magazines and paperback jackets, of course. Strange Cult of the Vampire Tarantulas. Blimey. Only in the Men's Adventure magazines would you find this quality of story. Absolutely superb. Bob says in his introduction that's actually model Eva Lynn, who's still around, and she definitely survived, but she was often used as a cover model for these sorts of things. That's good stuff, isn't it? So yeah, good 300 plus pages here of classic men's adventure action. This is a really, really great way to sort of absorb this content. It really, really is. It's good stuff, isn't it? Really, really great. Yes, excellent, excellent stuff. Then we've got a little biography of all the contributors to this issue, and of course you get to see the other books in the Men's Adventure Library, of which there are many now. There really are. I don't know how many exactly, but so many good ones for you to sort of consider. I suppose the most similar to this would be Weasels Rip My Flesh, Cryptozoology, and oh yeah, it looks like I've got a picture of it here. The shark one there. Oh, and here we are, yeah. I Watched Them Eat Me Alive. They were probably the ones closest to what we've sort of looked at here today. But yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff there. It's another winner. It's part of the Men's Adventure Library. It's published by New Texture. Now you can get these books direct from the authors if you want signed copies at menspulpmags.com. They're over in the States, of course, but they ship worldwide. You can also buy these online through places like Amazon. I'll put a link to those in the description down below so you can check them and the rest of the Men's Adventure Library out, because, well, as you can see, it's an absolutely fantastic book, and I think you'll really enjoy that one. So there you go. Thank you very much to New Texture for sending me copies of their latest one. I think it's another winner. As you can see, it's just superb. If you've enjoyed this video today, do please give it that thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage men's adventure content, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon.